Because now your sense of self is not, at that instant, that's a garden variety spiritual awakening. If it's real, at that instant, your sense of self is no longer being derived from the unconscious or the rational mind. All of your identity spontaneously leaves those realms, and it lands in the unconditioned. And the unconditioned is free of conditioning. It's vast. There's no limitation there. There's nobody to be or not to be, because there's no self-image in the unconditioned. Because you're not being derived by thought, which produces image. There's no self-image there. And of course, in the unconditioned is, if we go very deep into it, then you start to stop looking through this distortion of mind that distorts perception, and you start to perceive much more purely. When you perceive purely and simply, then you perceive the oneness. But then you perceive that everything is a manifestation of the unconditioned, we could say. Everything is self. So at that point, your self is no longer limited to simply your own image of yourself. It becomes universal because there's no limit on it. So when you come deeply into that consciousness, then you perceive yourself as simultaneously nothing, because there's no image, nothing or nobody, and everything and everybody. When it's very mature, then you perceive yourself as nothing and nobody and everything and everybody. Right? It's clear perception. It's not a mystical state of consciousness. There's many mystical states. You've noticed I haven't talked about mystical states of consciousness because in terms of spiritual awakening, they're relatively irrelevant. Right? Oneness is actually an unaltered state of consciousness. That's what it is. People think it's some whacked out, altered state of mystical consciousness. No. Everything else is a whacked out state of mystical consciousness. Oneness is it's the way things actually are. It's just the restoration of clear, simple perception. It is, when it first dawns within you, it is amazing, it is unexpected, it is nothing you ever thought about, even though you've probably thought about it for years. When it actually starts to occur within you, it's nothing that you anticipated. If anything, you sit around wondering for a little while how on earth you missed it. How on earth did I miss the most obvious thing? It's like your eyeballs were looking for themselves for years and then just realized that they were the things that were looking. Does that make sense? Okay. Like if your eyeball, I know it's kind of weird, if your eyeball started to speak to you, consult a professional if that happens, by the way. But if your eyeball started to speak to you and said, I'm searching for my real self, where would you direct it? It's an eyeball, and it's searching for its eyeballness. Which way are you going to tell it to look? Up, down, left, right, straight ahead? Try to turn around? Right? It's looking, and it wants you to tell it where to look. What are you going to tell it? You see the dilemma I'm in? That's basically what almost everybody who comes to see me asks me is doing. It's like, where do I look? What do I do? All right, like the only answer really is ultimately relax. Stop looking around so much. You're the looking. You're not what you're going to look at. You're the looking itself. If you're particularly open and the timing's right and all the celestial stars line up, you just might not get it. I'll be darned. I am what I've been looking for.